When I manifested my husband back after we separated, I did not believe in my manifestations, yet I still manifested my SP back. Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome back to my channel. This is Priya, your manifestation coach. And in this video, I'm going to share with you exactly why you don't need to believe your affirmations in order to manifest what you want. So if you're somebody right now who is stressing, who is worrying because you don't believe in your news story or your affirmation, chill, don't worry, I've got your back. By the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly why it doesn't matter. And ultimately, you can still manifest what you want regardless of if you believe it or not. So the first thing to understand here is that your thoughts create your reality. So the thoughts that you are thinking always create your reality. Now, to go deeper into this, the dominant thoughts that you think always create your reality. In other words, the thoughts that you feed your subconscious mind dominantly, meaning the affirmations that you feed into your subconscious mind constantly, the dominant thought that you think will always manifest into your 3D reality. It will always be reflected back to you in your 3D reality. Another way to look at this is to think of your subconscious mind as a 3D printer that just prints anything that you feed into it here. And how do you feed it? You feed it through your affirmations. But this comes back to your dominant thoughts will always be manifested in your 3D reality. Now, note here, I didn't say your beliefs, although if you believe something, it will manifest. I said your dominant thoughts. This means that even if you don't believe your affirmations, if you still repeat your new story anyway, if you still saturate your consciousness with this new story, and that new story becomes dominant, it will manifest into your 3D reality. Your subconscious mind has to produce proof of the dominant story that you're feeding it in here. Now, before I go further, let's just talk about what your subconscious mind is, because sometimes people get confused with this. Your subconscious mind is another way to say source, God, the universe. That's all it is. Your subconscious mind is always neutral and impartial. So whatever you are feeding it through your affirmations, through the story that you're telling, through the thoughts that you're thinking, your subconscious mind is just saying, yes, yes, yes. Moreover, the dominant story that you're telling, the dominant thoughts that you're thinking is what is going to manifest in your 3D reality. So to give you an example of how this worked in my own life, when me and my husband were separated, so I manifested some contrast in my reality, I decided that, okay, I want to manifest us getting back together. And so I began to tell a new story. And I began to consistently tell my new affirmation. So when I say affirmation or story, it's all interchangeable. It's all the same thing. Another thing to note here is that your affirmations is essentially the thoughts that you are thinking. So every thought that you are thinking is an affirmation. So when you begin to tell the new story, when you begin to affirm what it is that you want, when you begin to tell that story as if you are living in the end, so you're thinking from the end, it will manifest into your 3D reality. So for me, I began to tell a new story about me and my husband, that we are happily married, that we are madly, deeply in love, that I am chosen, that I am prioritized. So I began to tell these new stories, and I just kept affirming and affirming and affirming. And I will tell you that I didn't even believe in my affirmations. So initially, when I affirmed, I didn't feel anything, but afterwards it began to feel really good. So initially it was like I was feeling shit, but then it was giving me relief to just affirm, because it was better than thinking the shit thoughts or the thoughts that opposed what I wanted. So it was a way to replace my current thoughts, because you're thinking thoughts anyway. So this isn't really a tool or a process. You're thinking 70,000 thoughts a day, and the predominant thoughts that you think will manifest into your reality. So you may as well be thinking as if you already have your manifestation. So I was doing that day in and day out, and I didn't believe. Initially, it just gave me relief because I wasn't feeling good. And then it switched at some point in the process. I began to feel really, really good from just telling this story. Even so, I didn't believe it. And 55 days later, my husband turned around and told me that I was the love of his life and that he would basically do anything for me. And when this happened, when this showed up in my 3D reality, I can tell you that I didn't yet believe my affirmations. Even when it showed up in my 3D reality, I didn't believe it. But yet it still showed up in my 3D reality. Why? Because it was the dominant thought that I kept thinking. I kept persisting with my affirmation no matter what was showing up in my 3D reality. I kept persisting in that new story, making it dominant. Now, the caveat to this is that when you get the manifestation, so in my case, I got the manifestation, but I didn't believe it. What it means is that you may begin to feel worried or doubt. So when you get the manifestation, if it's not yet a belief, if it's not yet an assumption, right? A belief is just a thought that you keep thinking, which then becomes an assumption, meaning it's something that you accept as your truth. It's now ingrained in you and solidified within you. It's who you are. It's your new identity. That hadn't occurred for me yet. And when my manifestation came to fruition, but if that is the case where it's not yet an assumption, you want to keep persisting with your affirmation until it becomes an assumption. So for me, as an example, when my husband came back into my reality and told me that he wanted to be with me, I still had like fears and I was a bit worried about losing it. And I understood at that point, oh, this means that the story that I've been telling, this new affirmation, isn't yet an assumption. So even so I had my manifestation, I kept persisting in my new story until it became an assumption. Now, how do you know if it becomes an assumption? It becomes an assumption where you're no longer worried or you fear losing it. Now you know it's just a belief. You know, something becomes a belief when it self-reaffirms itself. So it means that you no longer have to keep repeating this new affirmation. It's just the way you naturally think. It's like who you are now. You don't even have to think about it. It's just who you are. Like, I know I am loved. I know I am prioritized. It's like, duh, sort of thing. That's how you know when it's become an assumption. And at that point, you let it go. So my message here is you don't have to believe in your affirmations. It doesn't matter if you don't believe it. Say it anyway, persist anyway, because at the end of the day, the dominant thoughts that you are thinking, meaning the affirmations that you are saying out loud or in your head, will show up in your 3D reality, okay, when they become dominant. So you want to keep persisting. And when you get your manifestation, if you find yourself in a position where it's not yet an assumption, meaning you're worried, you might lose it, you keep going with your affirmation, although you have the manifestation. And the reason why you want to do this is you want to do it till it becomes an assumption. Because if it's not an assumption, if it's not a belief, then you can easily manifest it out of your reality as you did into reality, right? So once it's a belief, then you don't have to worry about being low vibe and high vibe. Oh my God, what if I'm so low vibe, then I'm going to lose my manifestation? None of that matters once you have a belief instilled in you, once you have an assumption that says, you know, I am always rich, or I am always prosperous, or my SP always loves me, my SP and I are happily married, or always happily married. Like once that becomes an assumption, it's who you are. And so then you don't really need to worry about being low vibe or high vibe or any of that, because your assumption will trump your emotions. So this is how you can manifest anything you want without believing. So it's not necessary to believe in your affirmations, but what is necessary is for you to persist in your new affirmation until your manifestation shows up, because your dominant thoughts will always manifest into your 3D reality, okay? Your subconscious mind has to produce proof of your dominant story, of your dominant thoughts, of your dominant affirmations. That is the law. Now, if you're somebody who would like guidance to manifest whatever it is that you want through the law of assumption, then you can get one-on-one coaching with me by clicking the link below in the description box. I also offer online courses that are more budget friendly, so you can get instant access to those by also clicking the link below in the description box. Finally, thank you so much for being here. I love you. I appreciate you. I will catch you soon. Mwah.